We all love a nice looking desktop with nice graphical effects, but when it comes to the leading operating system in desktop graphical effects, then there's no comparison to Linux. Whether you use Windows or Mac OS, there is no operating system out there that can match Linux in terms of desktop graphical effects. Linux uses a feature called Compiz, and Compiz just allows you to enable so many different features that can just really enhance the experience of your desktop, whether that's the rotating cube, which you can also turn into a cylinder or a sphere, or if it's making it rain on your screen, which is quite amazing to be honest, or whether it's just controlling the different ways or the different reactions that happen when you minimize or when you open a window or when you close a window. You can make it explode, you could make it burn, you could make it beam up. I mean, the options are just endless. There are so many sleek options that Linux offers in terms of giving you that additional sleek look on your desktop. The operating system that I'm using is Linux Mint, and it's the Mate version or the Mate version, and I've enabled Compiz Configuration Manager on that system, and as you can see, I've configured Compiz in a way that just makes my desktop look extremely amazing. So in this video, what we're going to do is look at three things, and that's first of all to install Linux Mint and get that set up on one of the I'm using a virtual machine, and you could be using a physical machine or a virtual machine if you prefer. And then we're going to install the Compiz feature, and once we've installed Compiz, we're going to go ahead and set Compiz up, because Compiz is what's going to enable all of these fancy desktop graphical effects that you're seeing on my screen here. So therefore, please do join me, come along, do follow along. If you've got a virtual machine platform such as VMware or VMware Workstation or VirtualBox, then do use that. If you're using a physical device such as a laptop or a desktop, then you can go ahead and use that. So without further ado, let's get into how we can now start installing this amazing feature. The first thing we're going to do is install Linux Mint on VMware Workstation. If you're following along with me and you've got VMware Workstation, then that's absolutely fine. You can do what I'm doing. If you've got another virtualization platform such as VirtualBox or any other one, then you can use that. Alternatively, you can use your laptop or desktop to install the operating system. So first thing is to go into your VM settings and just make sure you've got your Linux Mint image file attached as a DVD, attached to the DVD, sorry. So obviously we're going to boot off of the DVD drive, the virtual DVD drive. So we'll need to make sure that that's attached. Once we attach that, then the next step is to power on our virtual machine. It gives us the boot menu or the bootloader for Linux Mint. We press enter. Oh, let me press enter on here. So we'll start Linux Mint, and this is going to boot us into the live desktop environment, and then we're going to proceed to the installation from there. So once we get it installed, then we'll move on to configuring Linux Mint to make sure we've got Compiz Configuration Manager installed on there. Okay, so it's booted us into the live desktop environment. What I'm going to now do is select install Linux Mint. If I wanted to, I could just use it as a live desktop, which is one of the good things about Linux, but obviously I want to install it and then make sure we update it and get all the configurations done for Compiz. So let's double click on this, and we're going to follow the wizard. I'll say continue. Let's see what we've got here in terms of English. It's all US. Okay, we'll just stick to the standard English US. Continue. Actually, go back. I've just spotted English UK. It's just picked up by graphics, so it's gone into full screen. English UK, that's what we want. So we click on continue. Continue. We don't need any multimedia codecs. If you want, you can install all of them, but I'm just going to pass. Erase the disk and install Linux Mint. Yep, it's just a virtual machine, so I'm going to erase the disk. And I will say continue. And now that's going to format the disk and hopefully proceed with the installation of Linux Mint. Once we finish up on our location, yep, say next or continue. Username, I'm going to say AJ Labs. Let's make this short. AJ Labs VM. And we're going to give ourselves, going to create ourselves a very secure password. Fair. Okay, a fair password. Let's say continue. And the installation begins. The good thing about Linux is while it's installing, you can actually just use the operating system, the live environment, and browse, open up the web browser, browse the internet, get on with other things while it's actually installing on your desktop or laptop. It's actually something that Windows and Mac OS don't offer. So it's one of the really good highlights of Linux, because there is no other operating system out there that offers this feature where you can actually use the operating system while you're actually installing it on your desktop or laptop or virtual machine in my case. Say confirm. And there you go. Got my web browser open. No idea why Ozzy Osbourne's the first thing to pop up. Maybe it's trending. BBC Sport. And you can go about your business and let Linux carry on with its business of installing the operating system for you. How fantastic is that? Anyway, let's wait until this finishes or the installation completes, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and carry on with our configuration. Installation is complete, so it's asking us to restart, or if you want to continue testing it, the live environment and browsing on doing whatever you're doing, you can. Let's restart the machine. Right, key thing, remove the installation media and then press enter. So what I need to do now is on my virtual machine, if you're using a physical device such as a laptop or PC, then you need to remove your USB device. I do have a video on how to create a bootable USB, which you can watch, and then you can use that to image or install the operating system and then remove it once it's done. So in my case, I need to just go into VM, removable devices, and it's actually been disconnected, so that's great, excellent. So it's automatically disconnected it. Press enter, and it should now boot from the hard disk and boot the Linux operating system. There we go, that's starting up. And we should then be prompted to log in with our accounts which we created. There we are, AJ Labs, put in my password. And again, VMware Workstation should recognize, hopefully should pull up the drivers in this window should automatically resize. If not, it's not a problem, we can always fix that later. So this is just a welcome wizard. We'll close that off. Now, first thing we need to do is install Compiz Configuration Manager, and we do that by going to where is it? Software Manager. Close that. So what we need to do is find the Synaptic Package Manager. So you can just do a search and then open that up. That will ask you for your root password, which is the password which we just created for our main admin account. Once we do that, let's close this. We can then do a search for Compiz, and it should give us everything that has Compiz on it. Looks like some of the Compiz components are already installed, which is good. window's a little bit small. I'm just going to make this a little bit larger. Okay, doesn't seem to be doing it. So VMware Workstation hasn't recognized the drivers yet, so I do apologize. The window is a little bit small, but not to worry. So we've got Compiz, Compiz Core. Just make sure you've got these installed: Compiz Core, Compiz Core, and Compiz GNOME, as well as the Compiz plugins. Because I'm using the Mate version, I believe I'll need Compiz Mate, not GNOME. So I'm going to enable that, right, and say mark that for installation. Let me just scroll further down. The Compiz plugins extra, I'm going to mark that for installation. And let's just see what else we've got. Compiz plugins main. You need the Compiz config settings manager. That's the window that's going to be managing the Compiz configuration. I think we're going to need to install Linux tools to make sure that the correct drivers are installed for the VM, so this window can be actually much larger, which I might just do. And I'll do the default one. I'll leave the dev one. So once that's done, we can then go to apply, click on apply, and click on apply. It'll give you a summary of things to be installed and how large it is, how many packages, how many are new, the amount of extra disk space to be used, how much the download is going to be. So I'll say apply, and that should now start processing, downloading, installing, and so forth. So let's let that finish, and once that finishes, we will probably install VMware tools and then move on to the configuration. Changes applied. Excellent. So, in fact, let me see if I can find VMware tools here. No. Okay. Let me just pause this, install VMware tools, and then come back. So it looks like I just need to change the resolution of my desktop because VMware tools is actually installed. So I'm going to change it to 1920 by 1200. Apply that, and there we go. Excellent. So we now have we have the full screen. Cool. We can now close this off, and then we can now go to finishing off the rest of the configuration. So now that we've got Compiz installed, we need to go to our desktop settings. So just do a search for desktop, and you should see your desktop settings. You open that up. We can go to Windows, because what we need to do is change the Windows or the window manager from Marco Compositing to Compiz, right? But obviously that now causes a problem where sometimes the icons, the buttons for closing and minimizing disappear, and sometimes you can't even move the window. So if you do experience that, you may need to do some additional configurations in the Compiz Configuration Manager, which we'll see later on. So close this. Now that we've got Compiz as the main one, we need to open the Compiz Configuration Manager now. So let's go into the fun bit and hopefully see if all the lovely fancy desktop settings work. So I don't want to see this one again. Let's bring this down. Right, Compiz Configuration Settings Manager. This is where all the fun happens now. Providing this is all configured correctly, you can always change this around and play around with it. And this is where you control all of your desktop effects. Essentially, this is the main center where you control everything. So you've got some general settings here. You will need OpenGL and Composite enabled if you didn't have that enabled, or if it doesn't come up for you. And then from there on, you've got some accessibility stuff. some options there, some magnifier, dim when the device is obviously the mouse or the keyboard is inactive. But let's move on to the fun bit. So the desktop stuff. So we've got the desktop cube. We can click on that. Actually, it's enabled for me. If I click on it, you can see if I press Control, Alt, and down, that those three keys combined will then enable the cube for me. So let's put that to the test. So if we click on the desktop cube, as you can see, it's already enabled. This is the option that allows your desktop to rotate into a cube. So let's see how we can do that. We click into it, and that will tell us the key combinations that we need to use to allow that function to work. So if all is working, if I press Control, Alt, and down, my desktop should then rotate into a cube. Let's give that a try. Control, Alt, and down. So it hasn't quite rotated into a cube, as you can see. It's not doing it. It's not doing what I expected it to do, but that's a good sign that it is working. You can change the behavior, the acceleration, the speed, the time stamp. You can play around with these settings to your liking. Appearance, the transparent cube. The sky dome is the top part of the cube, so you can actually put your own image in there. So if I had an image, say an image of myself or my cat or my logo or whatever, I can put that in there, and then the top part of the cube, the top side of the cube, will have that image on there. So and you can mess around with the transparency as well. But let's go back, because I think I've got another setting that's missing. So we've got desktop cube enabled. Fantastic. Rotate cube. Let me see if I press Control and Alt and my mouse. Nope, that's not working. Rotate the cube. Let's click on that. Bindings. Rotate cube. And then Control, Alt, and button 1 on the mouse will initiate that. So there we go, as you can see. So that top part you can actually change to your own image. And then again, as you can see, the cube is quite close to my desktop. Oh, is it crashing? If it is a bit glitchy, then it's because I'm using a virtual machine, which may not have the best resources. But there you go, it's rotating. And I've got 4 desktops, 1, 2, 3, and another one on the other side, which you can see over here. If I can just get my mouse, which I can't, but anyway, yeah, you've got 4 sides, and then the top, which you can put your own image on there. Right, so that's all good. The size of the cube I don't like, to be honest, quite too much, because it's quite close to me, so we need to move this back a little bit. But for now, this is just to show you and demonstrate how you can get these enabled. So by default, it's all enabled. We've got some animations. Expo is another one that I like. So you click on Expo, and then what you can do is Expo key. If you do as it says here, Control, Alt, and up, the Expo should happen. There we go. And then you can actually move your windows from one desktop to the other. All right, so you've got 4 desktops, and you can increase. I think you can increase the number of desktops, but for the cube to work, it needs 4 minimum, or actually just 4 from what I've seen. But for the desktop, you can actually have more for your Expo. Right, so you've got your 4 desktops there, and I can just switch between desktops if I wanted. Again, mess around, play around with the bindings, behaviors, and so forth. Expo animation is zoom. What's vortex? Let's give that a try. Whoa, so it spins off. Okay, that's a nice one. That's interesting. So vortex literally spins in and then spins out. There you go, spins in, and if I click anywhere, spins back out. Right, I like the zoom. Let's see what fade and zoom is. If we do that, nice. Click anywhere else. There we go. So let's come back. Animations Plus, that's a new one I haven't seen actually. I haven't used Compiz for a while. Animations Experimental I haven't seen. 3D Windows I've seen before. Animations Add-ons. Let's go into Animations, and let's see if we go to minimize. Actually, let's go to Open Animation. That's on Glide. So if I was to open a folder on my computer, it's not quite gliding in. Maybe it's just gliding in a bit too fast, possibly. Yeah, but you can actually change that. It's got a fade as well at the same time. And you can select some of these. Let's try Sidekick. That's one that I quite used to like. It's not working when you do that. Okay, might just need some additional bits set up. Let's go back from here and go to animation add-ons. I think this one complements it. So let's have a look. You can have beam color is okay. Let's change that to light green. Select. So these are just some of the extra settings, and you can change, you know, the speed, the spacing, the width, the color, and so forth. So you can actually just play around with these until you get to a point where you like. So the burn is one of my favorite ones, where it does the flame, and it can burn down or it can burn up, or I think it gives you burn left, right, or random burns. Let's do random. Alright, so glide, razor. Okay, these are all cool effects, but it's just making sure we get these enabled to make sure that they're working. The cube reflection and deformation, if we click that and we obviously if we enable that, then watch what happens when I do the cube. Control Alt and 1, it turns into a kind of a cylinder rather than a cube, as you can see. So it does that, and then if you disable it, then it goes back to its cube. Right, so whichever you prefer. I actually like the cylinder, but I'll keep it for the cube now. You've got wobbly windows, which is one of my favorite ones as well. Disable window snapping. Just disable whatever it offers you, and then if you move your window around, you can see it wobbles. That's some extremely cool graphical effects, which again you do not get on other operating systems. Linux is so customizable, and it's just because of its open source community, you can do so much more. Water effect, another cool one that I used to like. Initiate is control and super. I think that's super is the start button. So if I press control and start, let's have a look. Super. No, it's not that one. Toggle rain, shift and F9. Okay, let's see if that one works. So I'm not sure what the super key is. I'll need to find what that was, but you can change it. You can click on it and you can actually choose what you want. I'm just going to leave this for now, but I'm going to toggle the rain to see if that works. So it's shift and F9. It should start raining on the screen. Nope. Okay, that isn't working either. But again, enable the water effects. Of course, I haven't even ticked it. So control and start, or shift and F9. No, still not working. Oh, there it is. It is working. Ha! Excellent. So there it is. Shift and F9 works, and you've got the rain, you've got the wobbly working. I mean, and at the same time, you can do your cube. And look at that. And the effects just look so real. If I go back, and if I go to cube reflection, enable the cylinder. I mean, how cool is that? It's raining on your screen. Excellent. So let's stop the rain because it's getting in the way now. Shift and F9, and it should disappear slowly. There we go, back to normal. Okay, now I want to make sure that these animations work. So when I do, let's remove these. How many have I got? Because some of the things that really bring the desktop to life is the animations, right? Fade. I'm going to get rid of all of these. Actually, don't get rid of them. Let's double click on them. What I tend to do is not get rid of them, double click on them, and then just make them all the same one. So what should we do for opening? Let's do sidekick, right? Sidekick for opening, and then double click on this, select sidekick. I always just change them all to the same one because I'm not too sure why they're all different. Maybe it's just to have a fade with another effect, but there we go. Did you see that flip open? Whoa, sidekick. It's actually working. If I close it, so if I now open my computer, you see how that spins in, right? So I close this. Excellent. We've got sidekick working. So I think it was a second option that made it work. From there, I want to do my close animation, right? So the close animation is going to be one of my favorites. This is a really good one. Let's do explode for closing, right? Let's do explode. 120, is that milliseconds? I think it is. Yeah, milliseconds. That is really quick. That's like a second, but you can change this time. So do that. If I open this up, sidekick comes in. If I close, hasn't worked. So I need to change the second option, fade, to did I change explode? Yep, there it is, explode. Boom, and then it explodes. So open up with the sidekick, and then I'm going to make this large, and watch when I close this. Boom, it explodes. It is a little bit too quick for me, so I'm going to say let's say 200 milliseconds, right? Still quick, but you can play around with that. 300 milliseconds to slow it down a bit. There you go, gives it a nice, I think 250 will be perfect for me. Let's do 250. Right, and then watch it explode if I press close. Okay, so we've done that. Now minimize one of my other favorite ones, and that's going to be, let's grab this, we'll choose the burn. Burn is really cool. Oh, where's that gone? It's glitched. Burn, close it. So if I now minimize this page, watch what happens. Whew, it burned. Wow. I mean, this is what Linux offers you, especially, I mean, Linux Mint is my preferred desktop choice in terms of the Linux operating systems. I do use Mac and Windows, but I prefer, in terms of graphical desktop effects, Linux is obviously by far the leader in that field. So you minimize and look at that. I mean, and you can slow the fire down. You can actually slow the burn down. If I double click on this, and if I say, let's say something ridiculous, let's say 1000, well, is that 10,000? 1000 milliseconds, right? If I minimize this, there you go. That is absolutely beautiful. Go back from this. And again, all those options in there you can play around with and change them to your liking. And configure them to however you feel comfortable best. Now, one other one that I'd like to look at, so we've done the wobbly, is the desktop fire. Where is it? Fire paint, another cool effect. Not that you're going to use this a lot, but it is kind of a cool effect to share with your friends and your family, and just to show them something really cool on the desktop that they may have not seen before. So to initiate this, you do, what do you do? Shift, super, and button 1. And I'm sure super is the start button. So let me try this. Shift, super, and button 1. Look at that. Right? And then to stop this, you do Shift, super, and C. And by super, I mean the start button on your keyboard. Right? Now, for me, that flame does not look right. So particle color is supposed to be red, but interestingly enough, it's not coming up as red, as you just saw from there. Let's try that again. Shift, super, and let's write something. AJ Labs. Let's write AJ Labs on here. And there you go. What a cool effect to show your family and friends that you can actually start a fire on your desktop. Right, not something that you'd use every day, but there you go. Clear it now, Shift, Start and C. And again, you can make this randomly change color. You can play around with the colors. For me, I guess maybe it's my virtual machine drivers, but it's not giving me the right color that I want. It's not giving me the red, but it does work. And you can actually change and slow down the speed of the particle sizes and so forth. So there you have it. That is Compiz on your desktop, the best desktop graphical effects on any desktop operating system, by far, hands down. I don't think anybody can compare to Linux when it comes to desktop effects. You can't. I mean, where else can you get a Wobbly? Right? Where else can you get things like this on your desktop? Right? And if I bring that here, oh, let's go back up and do this, go back up. Even through here, if I minimize, you've got the fire and all those other bits. So there you go. Have a play around with those settings, change them to your liking. It is a really excellent desktop to use, Linux Mint. It's very simple, very straightforward. The interface is clean. The options, you can do your you can get software from Software Manager, from Package Manager. You can get it from the Synaptic Package Manager as well. Right, you can do all your updates through your terminal. And you've got those graphical effects, and you can run a lot of applications on here. I mean, nowadays you've got Office 365 online anyway, so you don't really need to install Office, Microsoft Office on the desktop itself, on your computer itself, or your Linux computer, should I say. But what you can do is you can get an application called Wine, and I can do another video on that, which allows you to install Windows applications on Linux. So if you do have some applications that you'd like to use, you can actually check if it's Wine compatible and install them on your Linux machine. But nowadays everything is cloud-based, so you can actually work off of your Linux desktop and at the same time have the cool graphical effects of Linux at your fingertips. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and hopefully if this has helped you, then please do hit the like and the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.